We are going to start. Good evening. Thank you for taking the time this evening, especially during these unusual COVID times, to join us for this community meeting to discuss Patrick Avenue traffic changes. I am Alex Ameri, the city's Public Works Director. I have with me Kathy Garcia, Deputy Director of Public Works and Acting Transportation Manager. Also, Charmin Sola, Senior Traffic Engineer and Patrick Avenue Project Manager. We have prepared a slide presentation that Kathy is going to review with you. The presentation will cover how and why Patrick Avenue was selected to make it safer and more accessible to all modes of travel, including pedestrians and bicyclists, while maintaining parking spaces and allowing sufficient room for vehicles. But we are primarily here to get your feedback on next steps. Following the presentation, we will be all available to answer any questions. Thank you very much. Kathy?
Hi, I'm Kathy Garcia. I'm the Deputy Director of Public Works. I'll be providing you a presentation here. Let me share my screen and get that out. And can everybody see?
Yeah.
Okay. Good evening. I'll be presenting the Patrick Avenue Complete Streets project this evening. Tonight's agenda includes background, recap of phase 1 improvements, phase 2 design, and the next steps. Before recommending a traffic engineering related improvement, staff runs through a checklist. This engineering checklist includes a review of previous requests, volumes and speeds, collisions collected through the statewide traffic record system, existing conditions, pedestrian activity, and schools in the area. Patrick Avenue met all the requirements on the engineering checklist and was identified as a priority for traffic calming improvements. Over the years, the council has taken several actions to develop policy that ensures the city builds streets that are safe, convenient, and accessible regardless of a person's age or ability. The Patrick Avenue Complete Streets improvements derive from such policies as the general plan's mobility element, the Complete Streets policy and the strategic initiative, the neighborhood traffic calming program, the strategic roadmaps, improving infrastructure goal, and the bicycle and pedestrian master plan. All of these approaches in designing a complete streets, one method that has historically been proven to be the most effective, and that method is implementing a specific subtype of traffic calming called road narrowing. There are two key means of road narrowing. First, through permanent physical barriers such as concrete medians. The second method is through a flexible, more affordable option that is implemented through non-physical barriers such as installation of pavement striping. The Patrick Avenue project has two key goals. The first and most important goal is to address the neighborhood's concern of speeding and safety. Staff has received requests from residents in the neighborhood, from school administrators, parents of students, and visitors who frequent the Weeks Library and Recreational Center. To address these speeding and safety concerns from the public, staff implemented two types of non-physical traffic calming improvements. These included a road diet in which one lane is reduced in each direction, and the addition of striping pavement. The second goal of the project is aligning with the council's policy for providing complete streets that balance the diverse needs of all road users. To accomplish this, bike lanes were installed within the new available space that was created from the road diet safety improvement. Next, I would like to recap the improvements from phase 1. The Patrick Avenue improvements are split into two phases of work. As you know, the first phase was completed last year and the second phase is yet to come. Phase 1 improvements included the removal of a travel lane in each direction to reduce speeding and improve pedestrian visibility. The remaining travel lane was then widened by a foot. As you can see in the top image, previous travel lanes were 11-foot wide, and the phase one improvements changed the travel lane to a 12-foot wide lane as shown in the bottom image. The width of the parking lane and center turn lane remained the same. Some might be thinking there's no way that the travel lanes were widened because the lane feels narrower, and that was fully intended. Earlier, I mentioned two methods in road narrowing, one through physical barriers and the other through visual barriers. This is a perfect example of a visual barrier. Painting lines on the road to create a visual barrier between the travel lanes and the parking lane has created the appearance that the travel lane is narrower than it actually is. And when motorists think that they are traveling in a narrow lane, they, as a result, tend to drive slower. But does painting lines on the ground to create visual barriers actually work? Our data collection shows that it does. And this isn't a coincidence. These results align with case studies prepared by transportation agencies, and that with the implementation of additional measures, such as the improvements being proposed for this phase two, will only continue to lower the speeds. As summarized in this table, the segments resulted in up to a 5-mile-an-hour reduction. Southbound Patrick Avenue between Tennyson and Westwood Streets resulted in the lowest improvements with a 1-mile-per-hour reduction. This is most likely due to the typical bike lane instead of the separated bike lane installed between the last block of Riger Avenue and Tennyson Road. You might also remember that phase one improvements made little to no changes at major intersections. In order to not make major changes to the Tennyson Road intersection, a typical bike lane was installed on that last block. Again, these results are consistent with case studies. Separated bike lane installed along the curb are more effective in reducing speeds than the installation of a typical bike lane. Now, what we have been waiting for. Let's talk about the proposed design for phase two. There are 3 key improvements proposed for phase two, 2 of which will be discussed on this slide. The first key improvement, depicted by the red arrow, is enhanced pavement markings. These include, but are not limited to, green bike lanes at all conflict zones, which include private driveways, and green paint for the first 50 feet of the bike lane on the first and last 50 feet of the bike lane on each block. The second key improvement depicted by the purple arrow in phase two is the installation of safe hit posts within the painted buffer area. These 2 improvements will reinforce roadway assignments and will serve well in learning how to use and benefit from the separated bike lane. We have another viewpoint of the design. This is the design for the Westwood intersection, but is typical for the entire length of the project. You can see the green bike lanes at either side of the intersection. As mentioned, the first key improvement in phase two are the enhanced pavement markings. Circled in blue shown the first and last 50 feet of the bike lanes on each block painted green. These markings help notify motorists to look out for the presence of bikes. More enhanced pavement markings are circled in red. Here we have dashed green markings across residential driveways, which will be typical for all driveways. These dashed green painted areas are also known as conflict striping and help motorists and bicycles identify areas of possible intersections. Circled in purple is another pavement striping enhancement in phase two. These hash markings are also known as end caps because they cap the ends of the parking areas for each block. These end caps extend a foot further than the parking tees to provide more separation between parking and the travel lane. Here we have the second key improvement I mentioned earlier. Circled in orange are the buffered areas where safe hit posts will be installed to physically separate the bike lanes. These posts will be installed in a way that does not obstruct driveway access. Here, circled in blue, are the third key improvement for phase two, flashing beacon signs. The flashing beacons will be installed for all 3 of the uncontrolled sidewalks on Patrick Avenue, meaning that these will be installed for crosswalks that don't have stop signs in front of them. This is a rendering of the proposed Phase 2 design. The top image is Patrick Avenue prior to Phase 1 improvements. The bottom image reflects what Patrick Avenue could look like if the proposed Phase 2 improvements are implemented. The proposed image shows the paint enhancements, the green bike lanes, and parking end caps. Here we also see the flashing beacons installed at the crosswalks. As most of you may know, flashing beacons have a button, and when pushed, activates the pedestrian warning signs to flash yellow and notify motorists and bicyclists of the presence of pedestrians. Finally, I'll discuss the next steps. The paving and Phase 1 improvements were completed in October of last year. Grant funds from the Alameda County Transportation Commissions were awarded for the implementation of the proposed Phase 2 improvements. To use these grant funds, Phase 2 would need to be implemented before April of this year per requirements of the grant agreement. The proposed Phase 2 project will promote a local neighborhood feel. We hope to move forward with this to provide people of all ages and abilities a sense of comfort, safety, and security. This concludes the presentation for tonight. I will be handing it over to Michael for the question and answer portion.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, so if you've joined us via Zoom using your laptop or tablet, please use the Zoom raise hand feature on the bottom bar, and if you would like to speak or ask a question. We also have the question and answer portion on here as well, where if you would like to type your comment or opinion, we'll be also answering those live. If you've dialed in via phone, you want to click *9 on your mobile device to raise your hand, and then we'll see you in line. So let's see. Okay, great. We already see a lot of participants coming in. Did you want to answer the question and answers first? We have about 6, and then we have about 9 attendees that would like to speak.
Let's go with questions and answers first.
Okay, sure. So the first one is from Debbie Frederick. I'm going to read this for those who aren't able to see it. She's an experienced and active road bicyclist, but she wants to emphasize what dangers this has created for the eastbound Tennyson traffic. With 2 left turn lanes just east of the Nimitz to get onto Patrick, there is no warning and the 2 left turns must immediately merge into one.
Okay. We will look into that and study it and get back to everyone.
Okay, the second question and answer is from Hillman. And I'm just going to be reading these comments verbatim, so I'm not paraphrasing. It says, when are we going to fix these horrible roads? It's the worst idea ever. There is rarely any bikes, and it's more unsafe than safe. So it's easy for bikers to run into parked cars. Not only that, but it has also caused so much traffic. I've never seen in my life marking a spot in front of a stop sign, I'm assuming.
Okay, next one.
This is an anonymous comment. There is a food bank that enters from Patrick across from Weeks Library, and when there are parked cars are blocking the only driving lane. How are you addressing this issue now that there is only one drive lane? This occurs daily and makes it dangerous for people to drive. We are forced to drive through the middle lane if we don't want to wait an hour.
So that's a great point. We are looking into it. There are some solutions that we are examining. We are going to share with the community. Part of the solution could be to allocate some of the parking lanes to queuing for this purpose. We are looking into the impacts that this may have, and we'll get back to the community.
The next question is, how does the removal of a lane help create efficient traffic flow, especially during high traffic times?
So as we have talked about, the idea here is not only make this easier for cars, but also make it accessible to other modes of traffic travel, including pedestrians, including bicyclists, and to make it safer for people that are trying to cross the street as well. The number of cars that use Patrick Avenue have been looked into, and reducing the 2 lanes in each direction to 1 lane in each direction can accommodate the number of cars that we have. The experience so far has shown that, I know that we are in COVID times, but so far it has shown that the lane can easily accommodate the number of cars that we have. It has resulted, as we had hoped for and expected, a reduction in the speed to make it safer, to bring it down to the proximity of what the posted speed limit is, and make it safer for everyone. That is the view that we have right now. If we see that there is a need to make tweaks or changes, we are always open to doing that. And Charmin, if you want to add anything, raise your hand, let me know so that I can turn it over to you. Unmute yourself and go ahead.
Hi. As Alex mentioned, the biggest priority for this project was to improve safety. We did check volumes and other case studies, and it showed that roads with a volume less than 20,000 vehicles a day can handle 1 lane of traffic in each direction. The volume for Patrick is about 11,000, so it could almost double before being impacted.
Okay, thank you. Michael, 2 more written comments, and then we'll take verbal comments.
Okay, the next comment is from Yanira Ledesma. When was the survey conducted originally to determine phase 1? Okay, Charmin.
So we have volumes from 2018, and we have a speed survey and volumes as well from July 2020.
Okay, the next comment I'm going to read, it's from an anonymous attendee. It says, "This is beyond messed up. You put absolutely no thought into the school traffic on Patrick Avenue."
So that's also a point. We will look into any tweaking or any changes that we need to make when the schools open. The belief right now, based on the studies that we have done, is that the street should be able to accommodate school traffic, and again, make it safer for those that walk to school, bike to school, parents that take their kids to school, as well as accommodating cars. Again, we are open to looking into the real world experience after we get back to a semblance of normal, and make changes, make tweaks as necessary. And with that, Michael, if you could open the mic and let's hear some of the oral comments.
Sure. Okay, Debbie Frederick, I'm gonna allow you to speak. And then please unmute yourself, Debbie, and go ahead.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. I have lived in Hayward for over 30 years, and I live up by Cal State. And I actually used to commute on my bicycle from my home just above where the old Kmart was down to the old Cal State Hayward, the old Kaiser Hospital. I also drive a car, and I come and I've been a volunteer at the food bank at South Hayward Parish. And I have to repeat the terrible danger that you've created. As thank you, Michael already read my written comment. I'm supposed to be somewhere else in 10 minutes, but this is more important. To make a left turn off of Tennyson by the Kentucky Fried Chicken to go north on Patrick is severely dangerous. And I've seen the bottlenecks with the food bank traffic backing up. They line up long before the food bank opens up. I also want to comment that I think you actually did phase 1 and phase 2 backwards. I love riding my bike. I love supporting people riding bikes, but it's scary when you didn't do those things that you have in phase 2, and it looks like those parked cars are sitting out in the roadway. I would find that disorienting as both a driver of a car and a bicyclist. And right now, as a bicyclist, without the green line and those safety posts that you're putting up, I would never trust a passenger in one of those parked cars to look for me on my bicycle before they open their door. I really want to advocate I support all you've got in phase 2, but I think that you should get rid of the whole project for that first block north, right by the library. Instead of starting the project where it currently is, I think it's Riger Avenue, you should abandon that and allow it to be 2 lanes. There's not adequate room for the traffic to merge coming off the freeway, coming off of Tennyson, eastbound to turn north on, and make that back to the 2 lanes. So I thank you for your time. All the other people, I wish we could see how many people were here, if you would let us know.
We have 20 people on the line right now. I just want to appreciate you taking the time and making comments. They are great comments. You are absolutely right that phase 1 and 2 should be done together. But the way that this project was done, we had to implement phase 1 right after the pavement improvement was done, in order not to have to go back and restripe a newly striped pavement. But then, because of the community reaction to phase 1, we wanted to take some time before coming back to you, getting more comments from you, and proceeding with phase 2. You are absolutely right that implementation of phase 2 is going to make this much easier to use this roadway. I thank you for your comment. Michael?
Okay. The next comment I'm going to allow is going to be Pam Thompson. If you could unmute yourself.
Yes.
And
hi,
speak.
thank you for taking my comment. I live on Rieger Avenue, which is right where that starts, and I have a couple of comments. I come off of 880 Tennyson, and you basically made a turn lane just for me. However, the cars coming around behind me, like the previous caller said, it's dangerous. I've almost gotten hit because I'm stopped to turn left onto Rieger, and the cars coming off of Tennyson do not realize that that lane's going to end that quickly. My second comment is when I go come from my home on Rieger toward Patrick,
Yes.
and I want to turn right to head to Tennyson, those cars that are parked there are completely blocking my view. I am totally blind to oncoming traffic. And by the time I pull up far enough to see, I'm in the middle of the road, and I've almost gotten hit more than once. And then the third comment is, neither here nor there really, but since you've done this, I have not seen one bicycle on there, and I live right off of Patrick, and I walk that way all the time.
Right. So I thank you for your comments. The purpose of this meeting tonight is to receive comments like you mentioned. We are definitely taking them down. We are going to look into it and make improvements as necessary. For instance, to improve the sight distance so you can safely make your turn onto Patrick Avenue. Thank you. Michael?
Okay. The next public comment is going to be Shakira Madavi. If you could unmute yourself, Shokra, or is it Shokriya?
Yes, it's good evening. Shukriya Madavi.
Thank you.
Residents of Hayward for 45 years. Never seen disaster like this before. I think in the white car that you draw on the drawing, you imagine when you look at it, you sit in the car, when you open it, how are you gonna sit in your car if incoming car is coming, first of all? Second thing, because I see so many cars are lined up to go to the street, and then your car is parked there, you wanna get into your car. You cannot open your door. And when you are in the car, how you gonna open it? You don't see the other car that's coming. So basically, when you get down, you have to wait from your car, or when you get into your car. And by the way, Hayward residents don't have that many bikes to ride. They don't bike a lot. Everybody's driving their kids to school and dropping off, picking them up from school. And instead of spending money on those things, I think everything costs money. You guys use it on other good things on Hayward. Hayward looks so bad. People are leaving the city. No businesses are left in Hayward. I see Kaiser gone, all places. So it's no safety nowadays. I know you guys working on this project, on this street. Last time we signed all those papers that you guys send in our houses.
Can I respond to some of your questions? You know, you're asking how you can open your door. Let me just mention that the existing way, the way that Patrick Avenue was, you used to park next to a travel lane, and that travel lane was 11 foot wide, so it was narrower. The way that the new design works is that the parking lane is 8 foot wide, so it's 1 foot wider than, you know, some other parking lanes. And then you are next to a 12 foot wide lane. So you have 2 more feet of separation between, you know, the side of the car and the travel lane. That should allow for safer opening of the door as opposed to what you had before. And in terms of spending money, as was mentioned during the presentation, all of this cost, the cost for phase 1 and the cost for phase 2, is based on a grant for making streets safer that staff has been able to secure from outside agencies. It is not the city's general fund that is being used for this purpose. I thank you for your comments, though, and it is great that you have been a resident of Hayward for 45 years. Thank you. Michael?
Would you like the next speaker or to answer one of the questions typed in?
One more next speaker, please.
Sure. Okay, the next speaker is going to be Patrick. If you could please unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah. Hi. I'm a 55-year lifelong resident of Hayward. I grew up over by Huntwood. I now own a home on Patrick. I am in the extreme danger zone at my house with the modifications that you've done. I'm only 3 houses up from KFC. With the parking lane being next to the travel lane, it's unsafe for me to put my grandkids in and out of their car seats, because I know people say, well, put it in from the passenger side, but I've got to put a 1-year-old rear-facing car seat behind the driver's seat, which is what the National Highway Safety Administration says to do, which puts me in traffic. People with the traffic coming off of Tennyson Road, turning left, over the last 4 months since the striping, 4 or 5 months since the striping's been done, realize the left-hand lane disappears. So the 2 lanes turning off of Tennyson, where it used to be equal going through, now everybody's in the right-hand lane because they know they need to go forward. So people get in the left lane, which is also the U-turn lane, and they have a drag race and are hitting speeds of 45, 50 miles an hour before they hit Roosevelt. And then they're blowing by Rieger and they keep going straight. It's actually more dangerous when I walk my dog to try and cross the Patrick Avenue now. And the parking being so far out from the street, my neighbors to the north side of me, they've got to look out, and if 2 cars are parked out at the street, they can't see to try and back out of their driveway to get into the traffic, because you still have 2 lanes and everybody's in a hurry. I realize that we've got to give up our traffic lanes for bicyclists. Bicyclist is supposed way of the future, but the people are on the sidewalk still. And the parking really needs to be next to the curb, the bicycle lane, then the buffer, just like it is on the north end of Huntwood from Huntwood Way to Lustig, I believe is where it comes in. You have parking next to the curb, buffer lane, bicycle lane, buffer. And to open up the traffic, I'll wait in my truck for sometimes a minute and a half, depending upon how traffic is coming off of Tennyson, to open my door on my truck when I know my daughter's coming over with the grandkids to free up my driveway.
All right.
A couple of years ago, I lost my truck to a drunk driver being parked at the curb. And I fear for my new truck getting hit by another drunk driver being even closer to the street and not
right.
as far away.
Okay. Thank you for your comment. I think I answered the question about opening the door of a car previously, but I have to tell you though that we are going to look into your specific situation, like you say, 3 houses from KFC, to see, you know, if there is anything that we can do there to make it safer. But based on everything that we have seen and everything that we have done, it should be safer for a car door to open when there is more space between the side of the car and the traveling vehicles. But we are going to look into it and see if there is anything that can be done. Michael, could you go to a written comment, please?
Sure. Next written comment is from an anonymous attendee. It says, if you allocate parking spots to the food bank, what are people supposed to do if they live on Patrick and want to park in front of their houses?
We have to make some accommodations. We are going to limit the number of hours that those parking spaces are going to be allocated to food bank, so that there is least amount of inconvenience to the residents there, while accommodating this thing that happens once a week during certain hours of the day. I understand that there is going to be some inconvenience, but we'll try to minimize that with good design. Michael, next written comment.
Okay. This is from Nate. It says, how are you going to address traffic jam during morning and evening rush hours? Schools aren't even open and traffic is already a nightmare.
As I mentioned, though, we have looked at the number of cars that use the street, and the number of cars that use Patrick Avenue is way below what is the standard for even one lane. It is well accommodated by one lane. When you look at the speed of traffic that we surveyed and we came up with, you see that the speed the actual speeds are within or even a little bit over the posted speed. So it may be, traffic feeling that it is slower, but it is not, down to a crawl. It is at or just above posted speed. Again, we are going to look into it, and if there is a need to make changes in some specific locations, we are going to be willing and open and happy to do those changes. One more written comment, please.
Okay. And the next one is from KM. I am concerned about the left turning lanes from Tennyson onto Patrick, because people try more to be on the right. Left, it holds up traffic from folks exiting 880 and attempting to make the first left onto Patrick.
Right, so this is the comment that we previously received too, and we are going to look into it and see if the merge lane, the length of the merge lane is adequate, or we need to make changes to that. And Charmin, whenever you want to chime in, just raise your hand so I can see and turn it over to you. Michael, next one.
Sure, did you want to do another written
Please,
question?
another written one first.
Okay, another written comment is, I feel like we are waiting for a massive accident or fatality.
Okay. Thank you. I don't know how to respond to that, but thank you. Please open the mic for an oral comment.
Okay, the next comment is going to be from Kathy.
Mm-hmm.
If you can unmute yourself, Kathy, please.
Yes. I've also lived on Patrick for many years. I kind of see some good things. I mean, I've only heard bad comments, but my concern is kind of how do the streets get cleaned? I've had to really clean out in front of my house several times because it doesn't appear like the streets are being cleaned because people are breaking bottles and things, and also the garbage cans. These not sure exactly where to place them now if there are cars parked. I was wondering if that was something that you had thought about.
Two great comments. We have talked about and thought about both of them. The street cleaning is going to be done by street sweepers that are suitably sized for being accommodated in that bike lane. When it comes to garbage, we have talked to the garbage company, and they are able to reach out and pick up the garbage. Their employees are going to bring those cans to the proximity of the truck and then service them.
Okay, all righty.
Thank you for your comments, Kathy. Next, Mike comment, please.
Okay. The next speaker is going to be Susie.
Hi, thank you. My name is Susie. I just want to say that I really appreciate this project. I think it's really good. I used to have a lot of difficulty crossing Patrick Avenue. It was a lot of really high-speed traffic, and it feels a lot safer to cross the street now. And I just want to share with the community that I think that all of these concerns that you're voicing are really valid, and also that the speed reduction of like 35 down to 30 and getting closer to 25, which is the speed limit, that has a really powerful and good impact on safety. Speed is a huge determinant of how safe a street is, and when people are driving really fast, if there's a mistake or a problem, that's much more dangerous than if they're going slower. So I really appreciate the project, and I think it's the improvements look good. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Michael, next speaker, please.
Okay, the next speaker is going to be Yanira Ledesma. Please unmute yourself and go ahead.
Yeah,
with your
hi,
comment.
good evening. The comment I wanted to give, I think the biggest efficiency of this project was conducting the survey in July of last year, post-COVID. There's barely any traffic because a lot of people are working from home, schools are closed. So obviously the flow of traffic is going to be different than how it would normally be. I've been a resident here for 30 plus years, and the amount of traffic I've experienced now in Patrick is beyond measure. I mean, in a street where you have so many places of worship that bring so many people together, and schools, and all kinds of nonprofits, especially the South Hayward Parish, that now has completely blocked that lane. I see this bunch of accidents waiting to happen. People have to, move forward. The streets that come out to Patrick have to merge further ahead to see if there's oncoming traffic. I really think that it's important for the city, people, those in charge, public works, to kind of live it a couple of days to really get a sense of what the issue is. I think when we explain it over the phone, it's not clear enough. But if you get to live it and you drive these streets on a daily basis, you would realize how much of a trouble it is. It's going to be mayhem. I mean, even right now, when we did have schools open and there was a backup on Tennyson going towards St. Rose, that was already a backup even with 2 lanes. And my last comment was the emergency response teams consulted, like fire, police, and paramedics. There's no space to have them go by when there's emergency. Because now there's only 1 lane going each way. So I really would want someone to reconsider this project. And if we need to use the money because it's grant money, then let's improve our sidewalks. Let's improve other things in the city that I think need improvement, not just Patrick. Thank you.
All right, I appreciate your comment, and I just want to assure you that we will not do a project like this without consulting safety, police, and fire and emergency to make sure that they have adequate access, after the project is done. Yes, we have talked to them and we have received their feedback, and I appreciate your comments, and we are going to consider it in the final analysis. Thank you. Next speaker.
Okay, the next speaker is A. Luna. Please unmute yourself and go ahead.
Hi there, good evening. Thank you for having this meeting. So I have several concerns. First of all, you stated that you had mentioned there was a study. I'm a school board member from St. Bede, and we had no idea about this project. Father Seamus did not know about the project either, and he's the pastor of the church on the same property. So we have several concerns because during Mass, we've seen so many people almost get in accidents, get hit by cars. We don't see any bikes riding that street. So I don't know where your study read that there was a necessity for a bike lane. There are no bikes really that come on that street. But I want to invite you. We actually have an event scheduled for the school for a supply pickup on March 26th. I would like for you to park and observe what happens and how when there's activity at the food bank and at the school, you'll see how ridiculous that street gets. The cars are lined up. There's no way of getting in and out. If there's an emergency, I don't know how the vehicles would pass through that street. So I welcome you to participate on that and also to park during the Sunday Mass at 12:30. Sit there and watch and observe when people go into Mass and then after Mass and see how hard it is to get out, in and out from St. Bede Lane and how many cars are on that road. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I made a note of March 26th and will definitely be there to observe for ourselves. I'm going to ask Charmaine to talk about the public noticing that we did when we initiated the project. Charmaine, unmute yourself.
So, sorry, what was the question about?
How many postcards? How did you reach out to the community when we initiated the project first?
Oh, yes. So we mailed out about 3,600 postcards around the corridor, the Patrick Avenue corridor. We also posted a leaflet article and a stack article, which is distributed through email to over 75,000 subscribers. Also on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Nextdoor. And we had a project webpage, and we asked everyone to provide feedback through email.
Thank you. And again, you know, that is not to dismiss the comment that you made about reaching out to you. I understand that, and we made notes of your comments, and we will follow up. Thank you. Michael, next speaker.
Okay, the next speaker is going to be Nate Rizvi. If you'd like to unmute, you can go ahead.
Hi, I wanted to echo other people's concern about the traffic jam on Patrick. By removing one lane, you did not do any favor to anybody. Just because grant money was coming and I don't know, a pressure from bikers associations or what, that you were compelled to use that grant money to take away one lane from Patrick Avenue. At the moment, schools are not open and we already see traffic jam. Most people are working from home, but once pandemic is over, everybody goes back to work, everybody's going to school. It will be impossible to use this street. So I would request to please reconsider and kill this project if possible.
Thank you. Michael, next speaker.
Okay, the next speaker is going to be Jay Romero. If you'd like to unmute yourself and begin your comment, please.
Sure. How's it going, guys? I guess what hasn't been said, definitely a lot of people before me already made a lot of the comments that I had, starting with Debbie. She hit the nail right on the head. I guess things that have not been asked so far are, do you guys have the survey report of the data that was gathered somewhere publicly posted? I really question the data set that you collected. regardless of the year. Obviously, I understood what the purpose of the project was, which I believe was to open the roads more to people other than vehicle drivers. So basically pedestrians and also bicycles. And I believe you successfully done that. Although, you know, you basically prioritized one over the other. And in regards to safety, Debbie stated that, you know, you definitely did do the phases backwards. It seems like a job that was half-assed, especially if you did it in stages, and putting it backwards just made it completely unsafe. So I think that going forward in future projects, if you have to do them in phases, you should either finish both phases or do none of them, because I don't think that did a service to anyone. But I'm really curious as to see if you guys can post the data and the survey along with the people who are responsible for conducting that. Personally, I'm an engineer, and I drive those roads every day for the past 10 years. And there's absolutely no way that you could make that assessment driving Patrick Avenue, turning onto Tennyson, and saying that one less lane would solve a lot of the traffic problems.
Right.
That's
So
it.
I appreciate your comment. Thank you for your comment. As an engineer, though, I'm sure you appreciate numbers. And when we displayed the speed survey that we have conducted, you saw that the speed is at or just above the posted speed, both in the AM and also in the PM. But we are going to continue to monitor, make sure that the speed is at a reasonable amount and not create a parking lot there. I will let Charmin to talk about the survey that was done and whether that is public right now.
I don't believe the data is posted. However, we took counts from what is defined as a typical day, that transportation defines as a typical day. So it's during the morning rush hour and afternoon rush hour during the week. So that's this was designed using the most conservative numbers, which were the highest when the volumes are the highest.
Yeah. Thank you. Michael, if you can go to a written comment.
Sure, next written comment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is from Ruthie E. So again, I'll be reading it verbatim. This all sounds nice, but I walk this street twice daily to walk my dog. Mornings and later afternoon or evening, never do I see bikers in the bike lane. Even the video on the website shows a biker on the sidewalk. When the pandemic and shelter in place is over and school is back in, traffic is going to be bad, plus church. No one parks correctly. This week, 2 box truck stops on the street just before the Gateway Hospital, causing so much backup. The person who designed obviously does not live here. I have watched several people try to leave their driveways and have had time to get out. This needs to go back to the previous parking. This is not safe.
Again, I appreciate the comment. I just want to mention, though, that when we drive Patrick Avenue, we see some cars, I can't give you a percentage. It appears to me that maybe about a fifth or so park in the places that they are not supposed to park right now. They are mostly service providers and those that don't live on Patrick Avenue. With implementation of phase 2, with the signage, with the striping that Kathy talked about, it should make it much easier to understand where to park and where not to park. And regarding bikers, several comments have been made about how few bikers there are. Of course, when you have a road that has 2 lanes and a parking lane and no space for bikers, and the lanes are only 11 foot wide, it doesn't allow for safe biking. But when you have a dedicated bike lane, a safe bike lane, that is encouraging to those who want to take advantage of biking to nearby places. That is a fact. That is something that we are hoping and monitoring to see how it is going to evolve. I thank you for your comment again. Next comment, speaker.
A speaker.
Yes, please.
Next speaker is going to be Matt. Go ahead and unmute yourself and begin your comment.
Okay, well, so like many other people have already mentioned, cutting this down to one lane is not going to work. Especially the part I'm thinking about is between Roosevelt and Roosevelt and Tennyson. If you go there between 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the morning, it's already crawling with 2 lanes. Taking out one of the lanes to put a bike lane in is really, really, counterproductive. And have you considered alternate routes for the bicycles? Specifically, in that area, they can go down Tampa Avenue where there's already a very safe bike lane.
Okay, thank you. Next comment.
Okay, Amin Madavi. Go ahead and unmute yourself and begin your comment, please. Amin Madavi, if you could unmute yourself, please. Great, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I don't know if this gentleman lives around this Getting and Patrick Avenue, because we have lived here around 30 years. And it's really ridiculous that you drive from here to Tennyson. Most of all, when you drive from Getting to Patrick, the 2 lanes merge in. I myself got almost 3 or 4 times into an accident because there's a street coming from Getting and then going from Getting and then both merging into one lane into Patrick. It's really, really dangerous. The other thing is that most people on Patrick Avenue on Wednesdays, if you go, their garbage truck cannot pick their garbage up from the side of the curb. They have to put it on the street. Then you see garbage all over this place. Nobody's cleaning it. Nobody's doing nothing. Plus, it's dangerous. I don't know why. And I felt that 98% of people does not want what is going on right now. They do not want this change. They want everything back to normal. I am not sure that the city council, I'm sorry, I joined the meeting later. I don't know the gentleman's name, and I don't know why is he defending so much. I am sure that he's not living around this area. So we need this back to normal so we could have basic life. The school is not started yet. There are 3-4 schools that going from here. We had a hard time taking our kids to school back then. Now that I see it, we may not be able to take our kids to school the way it is. I just need everything back to normal, and we should go back to normal and put these streets before school start. Please get it back to normal before everybody gets paranoid and gets an accident and all kinds of problem could cause. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Madavi. The purpose of tonight's meeting is to get community comments such as yours, and I appreciate your comment. Thank you. Next written comment, Michael.
Next written comment? Okay, one
yes,
moment.
please.
Okay, this is from an anonymous attendee. It says, taking into account the Catholic school, it is nearly impossible for parents and staff members to navigate out of the parking lot, causing a traffic backup in the lot. The only 2 remedies seems to be placing a traffic light at St. Bede Lane or to place a police officer there to help direct traffic to mitigate this problem? Are either of those being considered?
Sharman, can you talk about the improvements that is being planned? St.
Hello.
Bede's. Yes.
Yes, so St. Bede's will be installing a rapid flashing beacon for the uncontrolled crosswalk. So that'll be safer for any pedestrians to be crossing.
How does that
And
work?
so as a pedestrian approaches the crosswalk, they can push the button on the pole, and that will make the pedestrian signs flash yellow to notify drivers from like a further distance that pedestrians are crossing. Also, having one lane of traffic in each direction also improves visibility of being able to see the pedestrians. And I believe
Yeah,
that's-
thank you. Michael, next speaker.
Okay, Jesse Gunn, go ahead and unmute yourself and begin your comment, please.
Hello, thank you. So I live on Schafer, which is very close. I'm also a teacher here in the area. And one thing that I'm not sure has been brought up is that since we are in a pandemic and, you know, schools are closed, sure, there's less traffic, but also there is less kids riding their bikes to school. So when you talk about who is going to be using this bike lane, I really appreciate that they do have this in mind, because the bike racks at school are full all the time. So if this to me is who we are keeping safe, you know, we're not going to be in the pandemic forever. And I can definitely see these bike lanes getting much more use once the school goes back in session. I did have a suggestion that closer to where the cross streets, where people are pulling in and out of traffic from the different cross streets, if we limited the parking spaces over there to provide better view so people can see without poking their car out into traffic too far, that seems like a great idea. Even making a right turn, you know, if there's a car right there, and you don't want to make a right turn right into a car and think, oh my God, there's a car there. Keeping that in mind and cutting the parking proximity to the cross streets there seems good. I've actually been, I've had the idea of taking my bike out and riding now much more than I used to, because it is more safe. And I will specifically choose this route when I do go riding because of that. I wish there was more places that were within riding distance around here, but that's another topic, I suppose. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. It's fine. We have a lot of people waiting. Michael, next speaker.
Pam Thompson, please unmute yourself and go ahead.
Hi, thanks for taking my comments. Again, this is for Alex. And
Yes.
Alex, I know that you addressed the issue of there being 2 extra feet for people to open their car door. However, on paper, that's great. But before this, when there was 2 lanes, the drivers coming by had another lane to move over into to accommodate someone that's trying to get into their car. So now that's gone. I mean, there's no place for a driver that's trying to drive past and be considerate, you know, to move to let that person put the car seat in the car or get into the car themselves. Thank you.
You are correct. I acknowledge that we have 1 lane of traffic, but it is a wider lane and a wide parking lane. But I acknowledge your comment. Thank you. Next speaker, Michael.
Okay, the next speaker is going to be Shakira Medavi. I'm going to allow you to speak, so please unmute yourself.
Is that a second? Could you go to someone who hasn't spoken before?
Sure. Okay, the next speaker is going to be TJ, and the rest of the name is Hayward Concerned Citizen.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Hi,
Yes,
I am
thank you.
TJ with Hayward Concerned Citizens. Some of us are affected by this road change. I don't live in the area impacted, but I'm just calling to give some support to these residents. with the challenges that they've faced over the last few months with this. I know some have even met with the city council members individually too. I'm glad to see that you're able to talk with them tonight and hear their concerns. Had just a couple of points. I know that you were talking in the beginning about how data has shown this traffic calming is effective, but I think this is kind of taught our city that just because it's effective in one set of circumstances does not necessarily mean it's effective in another set of circumstances. And the other thing I wanted to ask, or just that I was concerned from hearing, is that the grant that you mentioned, it sounds like there's a lot of pressure for phase 2. I think you mentioned something about it has to proceed by April or you're going to lose the grant. And that's just around the corner. So I'm just hoping, that there's been, that you really looked at, listened to the residents about any accidents that have happened, or if there's been a measurement of any kind of accidents or hazards along the roadway while they've been going through these changes. So I thank you, and I hope that you're able to come to a mutual resolution that works for everybody.
Thank you for your comment. I appreciate it. Just wanted to mention to you and to everyone that the city first comes up with a project that is appropriate for the neighborhood, that is going to improve safety. It is going to provide and open the road to different modes of travel. And then we pursue funding because we want to make sure that the project is not going to have an impact on the city's general fund. And that is where, a grant funding comes in. It's not the other way around, that the grant funding comes up and then, you look for a project to implement. That was the case here. And for the second phase, the same way that we went and sought funding and we were able to find this grant funding so that if second phase is going to be implemented, it's not going to be at the city's expense, but paid for by an outside agency. Thank you for that. Next speaker, Michael.
Okay, the next comment is going to be from Lisa Greco. Lisa, if you could please unmute yourself and begin your comment.
Yes, thank you so much for taking my request to speak. And I appreciate that you are having this forum so that we are all able to voice our concerns. And I agree with many of the people that are on here. As much as I appreciate you trying to improve Patrick Avenue, it is not safe. We will be returning to school starting next week. And we have already experienced, as Andrea Luna had said earlier, backups on Patrick, and it was very dangerous. We had the police come onto the property and ask us to quickly remedy the situation. And that's not really going to be viable because we have to have school and we have to drop off children and we have to have children picked up. So again, I do want to clarify that we actually are having our supply pickup. We will have it actually this Friday. So it's actually February 26th. And so if you want to come out from 1:30 to 2:30 and see what happens, please do so. But I have been principal there for 3 years. I have witnessed accidents there. I have almost myself been in accidents. It's blind coming out of there from the entrance to the church and onto the school from Patrick because of those parking spots that are there, and people are not going 25 miles an hour. They're going much faster than that. I think one thing that you could do to remedy the situation is to get rid of those parking spots that are right there in front of the church, especially near the entrance. Usually there's a big trailer park there, a very big vehicle, and it is completely blind. You have to inch your way out of there. Put a light in there at that area. That would be another way to remedy the situation. You are looking at future accidents. We are going back to school. There are schools around the area. And certainly the parishioners that come in and go to church. And right now, because of the pandemic, not as many parishioners there, but there will be very soon. So I am pleading with you to please take care of the situation to keep us all safe, because I would hate to see anybody get hurt on that street. And again, I invite you to come out.
And we definitely come out. I appreciate your comment. Thank you very much. We'll be there on February 26th at 1:30. Thank you. Next speaker, Michael.
Sure, the next speaker is going to be Yama Anwari. If you could please unmute yourself and begin your comment.
Hello, yeah, this is Yama. Thank you guys all for this, so we could voice our concerns. But like many others here, I have a lot of concerns with what has gone on with this process. I think the first thing, one thing, my dad always taught me: when you're in a hole, you have to stop digging. And it looks like the city of Hayward has put themselves in a hole with this street, turning 2 lanes into 1, and creating a complete disaster and mess over there. And instead of just agreeing that this is a mistake and that you guys will resolve it, you guys are continuing to try to defend this mistake. Everyone knows there's no data out there that could support this decision. It's common sense just by going and looking at the situation. There are cars parked, someone pulls up behind a car and just is sitting there. On days they have free food, the church is giving out free food, or some organization is giving out free food, and there's a line wrapping around God knows how far, creating problems. This has to be resolved because it's just dangerous. And the arguments that are being made that this is reducing the speed limit, that's not a logical argument. You don't create 1 lane in order to enforce speed limits. You set up speed sensors, or you have more law enforcement on those streets. That's not, you don't say, let's create more traffic so that people move slower. That doesn't make sense. Lastly, I would say that something has to be done about this. Other than that, we have to get the fire department to come and look at this, see if this is even not a safety hazard for them. And if something isn't done about this, I'm personally going to be reaching out to the news media and anyone else to try to get this resolved, because this is just ridiculous. And instead of talking about fixing this, you guys are talking about creating another 1 lane somewhere else, which is like, I don't even know what we're talking about at this point. So I'm sorry about being really passionate about this. I've been a resident of Hayward all of my life, 31 years. And I think that some people that have come to these decisions, they don't live in Hayward. I've complained to the mayor's office. I spoke to the city planner. He told me he was from San Mateo or San Ramon. I said, have you ever lived in Hayward? No. No one bikes in Hayward. There's barely anyone bikes in Hayward. And so we can't accommodate 1 or 2 bikers and ruin everyone else's lives.
Okay.
And endanger everyone else's
Thank you
lives.
for your comment. There are a lot of people waiting, so thank you. Michael, next one.
Okay, the next comment is going to be from Ruthie E.
Okay. Didn't we have that comment before? Yes.
I believe she might have written one.
Hello?
Yes, we had your written comment, but go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm actually Ruthie's daughter. You guys stated that you notified people about this change by sending out postcards in the mail and to people around Patrick Avenue, also to subscribers and through social media. But I don't know about your guys' data and what data you have, because I pretty much think it's false, because Hayward alone has like over 100,000 people living here. And then that's including the other surrounding cities that use Patrick Avenue as well, and including the people that work around Patrick Avenue that live nowhere close by. I want to know what you guys are going to do to reach out to these people and other cities to get their intake on this change. And then this, not everybody has social media or subscribers or live close by to know about this. So I want to know what you guys are going to do about this.
All right. Thank you for your comment. Michael, the next written comment.
Okay, one moment. This is from Kyle Kumar. I just wanted to state that I am happy that these phase 2 improvements are happening and that the safety of a cyclist and a pedestrian are becoming the priority. Let's see, this person already spoke. This person already spoke. This is from Rita Perez. Having a parking lane that is floating causes confusion. In addition, car doors are opening onto a driving lane. This is extremely dangerous for a parent who is loading or unloading small children. The bike lane needs to be swapped with the park lane.
Okay, next written comment. And I appreciate the comment, but we had received it previously. So if we move to the next one.
Okay. This is from Romero Hernandez. Thank you very much for doing this new project in the Hayward community, but this project will bring a lot of traffic and it will be a vehicle chaos. People like us who have lived here for years know that this project was not well planned out, or it was done by somebody who does not live in the area. I'm sorry, but it's the truth. There are more risks of accidents in this avenue. Thank you, Romero Hernandez, resident of this area of Patrick.
Appreciate the comment. Next written comment.
See. So I'm just going through, there's about 50 plus, and I believe some of these people have already spoke.
And I would appreciate if those who have heard their concern expressed by others that allow others to make comments that have not been made before in the interest of time.
Okay, another comment is from an anonymous attendee. Just because we are receiving free grant money for these projects doesn't mean you can simply destroy our street and remove lanes to please a few cyclists.
All right.
Another one from A Luna. It's you state this is to improve safety, but this has made the street more unsafe. And then another one from Debbie Frederick, who spoke earlier, that says, again, as a bicyclist, I support what Patrick just said. So I believe that was in reference to what was said earlier.
All right, could you go to a speaker now, please?
Sure. Okay, the next speaker is going to be Christina Dennison. If you could please unmute yourself, Christina.
Hi, thank you for allowing me to speak. I wanted to just address, I believe, Charmin, who had said that you were going to be putting in a blinking pedestrian cross by St. Bede's School. However, as a teacher at St. Bede's School, I would say that that is a low priority for us. Most of our students do not walk. They are not pedestrians. They are picked up and dropped off by their parents who now cannot see to pull out of our parking lot. And it is creating a massive backup in the parking lot and a traffic hazard and an accident hazard for us.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate your comment. Next one.
The next speaker is going to be Dave Campbell. Please go ahead and unmute yourself and begin your comment.
This is Dave Campbell. I'm Advocacy Director with Bike East Bay, and we're a bicycle walking transit advocacy nonprofit in the East Bay. So we work in all 33 cities, including Hayward. I want to applaud the city for trying to make Patrick Avenue a much safer street. We worked with the community and staff on the project and developing it. And these multi-lane wide roadways that have high-speed traffic that the community expresses concerns about speeding traffic. That's what leads to projects like this that try to improve safety. And I want to applaud Hayward for moving forward, making this part of your repaving project, because your repaving program is your largest transportation program every year. And that's the opportunity to make streets safer. So I applaud you for doing that. I also applaud you for continuing to try to get this right. We know we've made safety improvements, but we know we haven't gotten it right just yet. So there's more improvements coming, and that's good. The feedback you're getting helps you tweak the project and make some changes here and there so cars can get in and out of driveways and parking lots and transition onto the street as well. But I do want to remind people that this is a pedestrian safety project. That's what the city is trying to do, is make it safe for people who are walking and crossing the street, and in turn, making it safer for driving as well. And with a wide street like this, you end up with room for a bike lane. That's great too. And one day we'll get this bike lane connected to other bike lanes so you can get around on bike. But until then, we're doing projects like this in the name of safety. So I applaud the city for moving forward, iterating to get this right, listening to the community, and continuing to make improvements. And we'll be out there at these times that the community members have suggested. There's a lot of traffic, so we can learn more how to make sure we get this project right. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Dave. Next speaker, Michael.
Sure, and I just want to make a quick announcement. If we do not get to your question or answer that is typed in, it is going to be saved. So if we don't have a chance to get to your question, please leave a question and answer typed into the Zoom chat, and it will be reviewed by staff, just so you have a peace of mind. Okay. The next speaker is going to be Alexis Villalobos.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi,
Yes,
I'm a Hayward resident, grew up here, grew up going to the Weeks Branch Recreation Center to learn Kung Fu my whole life as a kid. And I'm really excited about this. I remember those really wide lanes there and in other parts of Hayward making me feel really unsafe as someone who was walking across the street or just being around those streets in general. Like some callers have emphasized, this is about pedestrian safety for people who are walking. And I've talked to some of the people who've been involved with street safety projects here in Hayward for a long time. And my understanding, and something I want to point out, is that there is a difference of class and privilege here that we need to be aware of. Is people who may not need to rely on biking or walking, maybe from a different social position, might be able to afford a car or other modes of transportation and don't have to be concerned about this. Perhaps families that go to a parochial school aren't as concerned about biking, but we've heard from a teacher earlier from HUSD who says the bike racks are full and that students are biking. So just to be aware that people who might not be the ones calling in tonight may be the ones who are benefiting the most from this, people who don't afford to have a car and rely on walking around in the neighborhood. So those are my comments tonight, and thank you. I applaud your work here. Bye-bye.
Thank you for your comments. We appreciate it. Next speaker, Michael.
Okay, the next speaker is going to be Romero Hernandez. If you could please unmute yourself and begin your comment. Romero Hernandez. If you could please unmute. Thank you. Yes, now you're unmuted.
Hi, my name is Romero Hernandez. I'm a resident here close to Patrick Avenue. And also I'm a pastor of the church Iglesia Bautista La Roca. It's close to Zambit. And we have a lot of issues right here. And we have a lot of concern. With all respect, I can say this is a project that is out of the reality because we have more traffic, more accidents, parking problems, garbage problems. And I'm sorry, but this is not a good project. This is looks like made for people that don't live here in this area. But anyway, thank you for thinking Hayward to make these kind of improvements. Probably in different area will be great, but not in this area. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hernandez. Next speaker, please.
The next speaker is going to be Nargiz Madavi.
Okay.
If you could please unmute yourself.
Oh, you're not.
Nargis, yes, now you're unmuted. Go ahead.
Okay. Hi, my name is Nargis, and I'm living like 30 years in this street getting. I don't know how should I say, because I'm so stressed and I'm so upset about this street, because with 2 lines before we cannot get our kids online on school, but now with 1 line, I don't know, we're gonna stay all day on the street, or we're gonna get up early in the morning to take our kids, like at 5 o'clock in the morning, we take our kids to school, because my kids go to Southgate and also my kids go to Mount Eden. I'm so stressed and I don't know who was that idea. How they we one day before they start, they send a letter for everybody, and we beg the people to please don't make one line. But I don't know, nobody listen. If this problem not solved, I'm going all the way to the Sacramento to talk to whatever should I go. Please solve this problem. Please don't make a reason to, oh, this, that. I didn't see one bike goes on this line. For that reason, city has to buy for everybody bike and teach people to how to ride the bike to open this big bike line for the peoples. Please.
Okay, thank you for your comment. Appreciate
Yeah.
it. Next speaker.
Okay, the next speaker is going to be Lisa Sabila, and that appears to be our last speaker for.
Hello, thanks for letting me speak. I can appreciate the efforts that we're making around Hayward to make our neighborhoods beautiful. We want it to be safe for pedestrians. We want to have people biking and walking and feeling safe while they're there. But I think it's also important that we take into account that where we're located, we're on the 880 corridor. And with traffic the way it is on the freeway, people are taking side streets, driving through our neighborhoods. So I think that it's important that even though we do want Hayward to be beautiful, we live here. I've been living here my entire life. And I've decided to stay here because I want to give back to the community and make, and make Hayward what we all strive it to be, a safe and beautiful place, because we see the value in the area. But we still have to take into account that 880 is right there next to Patrick Avenue alongside. We're just like Hesperian, we're just like Mission. And so we have to take into account that as much as we want bikers to come down Patrick, we are going to be log jammed. And 2 miles an hour, you could say, is safer, but it's really not safe for anybody. To be rolling at 2 miles an hour and taking a 5-minute detour, what used to be 5-10 minutes, even under the speed limit, has turned into an hour and a half.
Okay, thank you for your comment. And we have a few more minutes. And Michael, could you go ahead and read some more written comments?
Yes, of course. I'm going to look through for some items that weren't previously discussed. 1 minute. Okay, and this is from Navarro Tran. My children attend St. Bede School, and before this project was implemented, the traffic on Patrick and St. Bede Lane was already bad and dangerous for pedestrians. Other drivers and parents dropping off, picking up their children. During COVID, we've had previous events such as supply pickup, and the vehicles lined up on Patrick Avenue turning into St. Bede Lane was ridiculous. We have an upcoming supply event on Friday, and I hope that the city staff member can observe the traffic. Also, the 1 lane on Patrick Avenue turning into Tennyson off of the freeway is not very safe. Please revisit this project. Thank you for your time.
Okay. Thank you for the comment. Next one.
Let's see. This is from KM. I do not believe anyone is saying to get rid of the bike lanes. Simply swap the bike lane and the parking spot, and everyone is getting their needs attended to.
Okay, so this comment says that keep the 1 lane, but swap bike lane and parking. Next one.
This is from an anonymous attendee, but they said, I would like to note that I did not receive a survey prior to this change on Patrick Avenue. It is important to communicate with the school administration, business owners, and places of worship. It's left as anonymous, so we can't follow up with them at this time.
Okay. Next written comment.
Let's see. I am not sure if all the new construction of condos and housing was considered during the survey, but how do you plan on combating all new residents that will be in this area? And this is from Mary Westergaard.
Thank you for the comment. Next one. You know, as you're looking for the next one, let me just say that, you know, a commenter made a comment that we are near 880 and some of the commute traffic uses Patrick Avenue as a shortcut. You know, these kinds of projects discourage that. You don't want to make a street so convenient for cut-through traffic that it is subject to that kind of traffic. That does not dismiss all the great comments that we have heard tonight. We are going to look into them. We are going to consider them. But I just wanted to make a note that sometimes making the street wider and allowing for more cars to use it results in more cars coming and cutting through, especially for streets that are near freeway and major thoroughfares. Next written comment.
This is from Anita Perez. I would greatly appreciate posting the actual surveys for everyone to see those numbers.
Right. Thank you. That's a great comment.
Okay, and this is from Lisa Sabila. We've had 2 supply drop-offs at St. Bede School during the pandemic. Even with off-peak hours, bi-directional traffic was locked up for almost an hour. A 5-minute drive turned into a 2-hour event.
We are definitely going to look into that and see if there are solutions to implement. We have a couple of more minutes, so go ahead and give us a couple of more comments.
Sure, this is from an anonymous attendee. It says, where do you expect bicyclists to ride to? Tennyson is awful for bicyclists, so is Jackson. To have a clear bike path between 2 dangerous roads does not make much sense to me.
We have been trying, that's a comment, I appreciate the comment, but we've been trying to add bike lanes in the city, and the progress that we have had over the past 3-4 years have been more than everything that's been done prior to those times. We are doing the best that we can to add bike lanes, safe bike lanes, wherever it is appropriate, wherever it is possible, wherever it is included in our bike and ped master plan, which was adopted just recently. So while it is a good comment, we are trying our best to add safe, usable, good bike lanes for everyone to use and connect some of these bike lanes that are now disconnected. That is a true comment, and we are working on it. One last comment, please, if you don't mind, go ahead and read, Michael.
Sure, this is from Rita Perez. Where are the
which
delivery?
I've made the comments before, but go ahead. Anyway.
Okay. Where are the delivery drivers supposed to unload? The market on the corner of Gating and Patrick gets deliveries from an 18-wheeler. When we've had 2 lanes, he took up 1 lane. Now he will take up the only travel lanes. Was this situation considered?
We are going to look into that and see if there is something that we need to be looking into and tweaking. It's 7:58 right now. Let me just say that we appreciate your participation. We appreciate your comments. A lot of great comments, a lot of new areas for us to go take a look at and see how we can improve. Those who have not had a chance to make comments or for us to read their comments, we appreciate the written comments. We are going to review them and consider them. With that, thank you very much for your participation, and we will get back to you by posting the result of everything that we are going to do and we have done on the websites for everyone to review. And we are going to, as I mentioned, be there on Friday the 26th of February and also again on the 26th of March, as another caller mentioned. With that, thank you very much. Have a good night, and thank you for taking the time again during these times, these unusual times. Thank you.